we've been counting down these best seasons all day. Are you in agreement, Andy, that Steffi's Golden Slam year is number one?
Yeah, and by virtue of circumstance too. I mean, she won one of the finals 0-0. I mean that's like that's like the scoreline of a high school match sometimes. And then two, just the timing of actually having the Olympics happen during a year when you are being so dominant. Steffi was one of my favorite players of all time to watch. I think she's one of the coolest, most humble people. You would, in just regular conversation, you would never know how great she was. She never talks about tennis. She's amazing, and I think it'd be really tough to argue against that 1988 season.
All right, let's throw the full list up on the screen and tell us if you'd make any changes here. One of the things we've been talking about, Andy, is Navratilova, because that 83 season for her was so brilliant. 3 majors in singles and 3 majors in doubles, just 3 losses combined.
Yeah, it gets really tough to pick any of these apart. I think to have a proper top 10 seasons list, you would have to, you'd be able to bring in a Federer from 05 also, and not just one season from each player. But I mean, these seasons, when you start walking through the numbers of 92 wins, 5 losses, 73 wins, 3 losses, I mean, it's just execution on a level that is just so difficult. And a lot of the players on this list did it a couple times. I mean, what does Monica Seles' 1992 look if she decides to grunt during the Wimbledon final? If Serena Williams in 02 actually plays Australia and doesn't get injured in Sydney, is that the number 1 on the list, or is that the number 3 on the list? So there are a lot of things, but the parallels between seasons are a lot easier to identify. It's just greatness personified.
So, Andy, Rogers 2006 is number 7 on the list, and you actually played him a couple of times that year, including the finals at the U.S. Open. You lost in 4 sets. Tell us exactly how good was Roger in 2006?
Well, that's probably his height. I mean, I say this a lot, but I think simultaneously he was the best defender and aggressive player at the same time. And I'm not sure I would challenge the group to maybe think if someone else kind of had that general skill set at the same time. You couple that with he served so well. He's one of the best front runners of all time. Once he gets out in front of you, it puts so much pressure on you as an opponent. Like at the U.S. Open, I was actually playing really well. Like won Cincinnati going in, and all of a sudden after 15 minutes, I'm down a break, and you just know that he's a downhill snowball. And just the way that he was executing that whole season was pretty amazing.
Andy, I've got just 2 quick questions for you. The first one came to mind when you were talking about your love of tacos, and I have a memory. I'm just not sure if this is accurate. You played Frank Dancevic, I believe, in the finals of Indianapolis, and I think you told me it was 120 degrees that day. I think you told me something along the lines of, "I learned something today: never eat Taco Bell before a final in this kind of heat." Was I right about that, or was it a different meal you had?
No, you were very close to being 100% accurate on that. I played late in the quarters, and it wasn't so much of a bad decision. It was a circumstantial thing. I finished at like 1 a.m. and had to play the next afternoon. Taco Bell was the only thing open in all of Indianapolis that night. It was either eat Taco Bell or starve, and starvation might have been the better play.
So I do seem to want to put you on all these lists, all these shows that we've been doing. I asked you if you should be on the top 10 of all time list. And tomorrow's list, we're doing the top 10 hotheads of all time. I don't know who's on the list. Now I do, because they're bringing it up. I was going to ask, do you think you belong there? And, I guess, look, they told me to ask this question, so don't take it out on me.
So I'll say I do not belong on this list, but only because I was always right, Jimmy. It was less, it wasn't Goron, it wasn't Safin, it was. I like to get into a bit of a dialogue and really break down the verbiage used by the umpires. And when I did break a racket, it was normally pretty quick. I think I had 1 point penalty in my entire career, so I think that automatically shifts me off the list. So
I've been hearing it for 3 sets. Do you have ears connected to your head? Yeah. Use them. You can use them if you want. All right? Good.
He agrees with me. He's like, okay.
Email, okay, sure. Check it out or what? No?
Yeah. It's like, I have ears.
One foot from the ball. I'm going to speak very slowly so that you can understand me. you don't think, had I not heard a call, I couldn't have touched the ball? 100% I couldn't.
So can Andy, as we listen to these, which could go on for the better part of the rest of the show, if it wasn't the top 10 hotheads, but it was the top 10 smartasses in tennis history, would you make that list?
Yeah. So if that's the list, I'm finally going to accept Jimmy's invitation into a list. Absolutely.
I love it. I love it. Apparently, if you're going to break your racket, you have to do it quickly, and then it doesn't count as much. I love that, Andy. But you were involved in the UTR event this last weekend in West Palm Beach that seemed to go pretty well. We have another event that's going on this weekend out in L.A. It's a six-man event. Sam Querrey heads the list. So size this up and how important it is to have some of these regional events for these guys to stay motivated.
I don't know. What's the scouting report on this Holt kid, Tracy?
You talked to him the other day. He listened to every word that you had to say. He was very excited to talk to you. But Brandon Holt is excited to play. It's just, how hard would this be, Andy, to have nothing to look forward to? And how important are these regional events?
Well, I think they're very important, and I think this is unfortunately going to be the normal. Something I like an event like this, which makes it intriguing to me, is you do have a couple of maybe young, unproven players, at least on the pro level, with Brandon and Svida, who I watched last year lose first round in the U.S. Open in 5 sets, but I think it was against Lorenzi. But super impressive stroke production there. And then you mix in kind of established tour pros like a Sam Querrey. I think for a while, these regional events where geography and proximity makes it convenient and makes it realistic. I think that's what we're going to be dealing with for a while. But I do like the different generations playing against each other. That excites me maybe more so than what you would see just standardly in kind of a regular ATP event.